everybody, we're going to talk about the Canvas gradebook today, and some of the options that you have on how you set it up. It's a beautiful thing, the gradebook. It's a lot easier, a lot simpler than the Blackboard gradebook in my experience. And I really like how it just seems to flow very simply. The first thing I like to point out to people is that if they set their assignments up properly, they'll automatically cascade into the gradebook. So as long as you're setting up your assignments well, then everything else falls into place. So let's go ahead and take a look at the assignments page. And if you look, this has all the different assignments that this course has. It's got, and again, recognize this is a sample class, so we have a lot more than you would have in most classes. So we've got this this simple assignment here. Let's move this down underneath here, and let's delete this category. And then one of the other things I like to do is I'm kind of finicky about how things are put together. So if you notice this under assignments, I've got discussion forums and I've got projects and I've got written reflections. I'm going to go ahead and break those out into some different groups because it's just too confusing to me. So I'm going to call this project. And I don't know yet what the percent of the total grade is, so I'm just going to save it like that without that. It always goes down to the very bottom. And you need to bring it back up to the top here. And then I'll go ahead and, again, see how easy it is to move things around? It's almost just fun because you can just drag and drop and boom, there it is. And here's project part 2, project part 4. Whoops, I didn't grab that. And let's see, is there another project? Oh, here's final project. Then there's project part 5. All right, and then let's put our reflections in order because that's really frustrating when that's not in order. And let's put week 2 with week 2. Oh, it feels so much better when it's in order. Again, this is a sample class, so lots of people have been in here doing stuff and playing around. All right, so now in my class, I've got assignments, I've got project, I've got some surveys, but I don't want to use those, so I'll drag those down to the bottom. I'm going to use I'm going to have a couple of papers. I'll actually call those reflections. All right, now I'm starting to feel like it's good. Oh, and I do want to call this, since it's not a paper and abstract anymore, I do want to go ahead and edit that, and I'm just going to call it reflections. So notice whenever I want to edit anything, whenever I want to add anything in Canvas, I look for the plus sign. Whenever I want to edit anything, I click on the 3 vertical dots and I almost always get the same menu: edit, delete, move contents, move group, or add to commons. So if I click edit on this, I have the option of changing the name, changing the percentage of the total grade. I can choose to ignore some grades. So maybe I want to ignore the 2 lowest grades, or maybe I want to ignore the 2 highest grades. And then I can always put in a never drop category where I can add in an assignment that will never be dropped. So for example, the final project, sorry, wrong group. So we'll keep this one, we'll keep that one as it is. But when I get to the project, let's go back up here, click on edit. If I never want to drop the grade for the final project, no matter what. So I can drop the lowest score, but I will never ever drop the final project. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, save that. It always tells me that I've saved successfully, which is nice. It's very reassuring. These green check marks, remember, just mean that I've been published. You can publish individually. And then the most important thing perhaps is just making sure that you check your weights to make sure that they add up to 100. So I'm definitely going to create, we'll do 40% for assignments. We'll do 20% for my projects. My test is going to be worth 40%. And my reflections are going, my math is horrible because that's 120%. So we'll do 30%. So 30, 50, 30, 50. That should equal 100. It does. Click Save. And there I have it. So now when I head over to the gradebook, that's already preset for me. All of that is already all together, right? So as I go scroll across, It's going to show it. If it's unpublished, it will show that it's unpublished. Right? And a lot of the functionality is the same as in Blackboard. One thing I'd like to point out immediately is that I love to move my total the very first thing, because I just can't stand scrolling all the way to the end of the gradebook, so I always move that total right to the front so I can see how my students are doing just with a quick glance right next to their name. So when it comes time to setting up the gradebook, you can do individual views, you can look at the history of the gradebook, you can arrange your gradebook by many different, any of these different filters: assignment name, due date, oldest to newest, newest to oldest, points. You can arrange your gradebook by modules, first to last. I'm actually a big fan of doing first to last, but that's just me. And then you can also look at statuses, and it will show you the different colors. This shows you what's late, what's missing, what's resubmitted, what's been dropped, and what's excused. So that's what all these different colors refer to on this page. You can also show notes if you want to, right? So maybe you have a student who you want to remember needs an accommodation for learning disability. So you could put that in your notes in the gradebook so that you don't forget that, Bonnie needs to have a little extra time on quizzes. You put it in the notes so that you remember, or that your grader remembers. And then in terms of actions, there's not a whole lot to do here. You can import grades from other places. You can export your grades to save them at the end of the term. The other things that you can see in the gradebook, we have some shortcuts here. And I'm not a big shortcut user, but I know a lot of people are, so it tells you what the different shortcuts are. You can search your gradebook. So if I had 100 students and I wanted to find Angela, I could just type the name and I would find Angela immediately. And then, of course, your gear wheel always gives you options of different setups that you can do. You can automatically apply a grade for a missing submission. I really recommend this. And I recommend that you automatically grade for a 0 if the submission is late. The reason behind that, and this is super important, the reason behind that is so that if a student doesn't turn in the work, it gets factored into the grade. And they get a 0 in the grade book, and it gets tallied in their final grade. A lot of times when we don't put a 0 in, the students get this misguided idea that they're doing fine in the class, and then when you finally go in and tally all those zeros for all the missing assignments, they're shocked at the end of the term because, well, what do you mean I'm only getting a C? I had an A all along. It's a lot of times it's because nobody factored in the zeros for the missing assignments. So this can automatically do that for you. That's huge. You can automatically apply deductions for late submissions. So a lot of people deduct 10% per day. So late submission deduction percent is 10%. The interval, you can choose day, hour. You can also bring it down. The lowest possible grade that they could get would be a 70 perhaps. And you'd go ahead and you'd update that. And that will change all of the different percentages here. So you can see where I didn't, whoever this student is, Brandon, didn't turn in any of the work, and so his grade plummeted. Okay, so when I go back into the settings area again, I can also set up my grade posting policy. So I can automatically post my grades, which means that those grades will be visible to students the second I enter them. That can be a dangerous thing because you might want to, I like to wait and grade all of my assignments and then release them all at one time. The reason behind that is that if I start grading and I've had a really rotten day and the first three papers I look at are horrible, and then as I go through and I realize, well, they really weren't that bad. I was just kind of in a bad mood when I started, so I need to go back and adjust those first 3 that I did. So if I automatically post the grades, the student is going to see, that they got a 70, and then it'll update them tell them they got a 90. And if I change it again, it'll tell them, oh, you got 100 this time. It's very confusing to students. So I always wait and I manually post my grades. To me, it's better form. Different people feel differently about this. It's a matter of taste, a matter of preference on that. And then when it comes to advance, you can always allow a final grade override. And I definitely like to do that because it gives me the opportunity to override a grade if I decide that, for whatever reason, I screwed up and I need to fix a grade. It allows me to change it. So I go ahead and hit update, And as we look across the gradebook, it's very similar to what it was in Blackboard, right? You've got the names along the side. Again, you've got 3 dots, so you can sort by, you can display as, you can have secondary info if you want it, and you can choose to show inactive or concluded enrollments. The next one up is your total. You can move it to the end. We can grade low to high. We can grade high to low. I'm a big fan of high to low. Again, we can put in notes, and then we get into our actual assignments. And here again, you can go into, you can sort them. You can get to the speed grader by the 3 dots here. You can message students. So if a student hasn't submitted something, you might want to message them. You can, and if you click on message students who, you can say messages for those who haven't submitted yet, who haven't been graded yet. Maybe you want to send out a message, oh, I'm sorry I'm late with grading, I plan on getting it by Friday. Please, thank you for your patience. You can message those that scored less than or scored more than. So if you have, if you have a cutoff of 70, the ones that got above 70, you want to give them a high 5, you can send them a high 5. And then it'll automatically give you a subject, and you just type in your message and click send. Each of these will have the same defaults, right? And you can also, can enter grades as points or percentages. And here's another way to get to your grade posting policy, automatically or manually, depending on what you want. You can curve grades if you choose to do so. Here again, you can, if your average score is 12 out of 20, you can assign zeros to unsubmitted students. You cannot undo curving, so be careful if you do decide to curve your grades, because you won't be able to change it. One other thing that we often see is the I with a slash through it. That means that it's hidden. And again, if you click the 3 dots, it even tells you that all grades are hidden. The way to make that go away is to go ahead and post the grades, and just click on post grades. It'll automatically open the I, and then it flags me before it sends it out. It's letting me know that 2 of these are still hidden because they didn't submit. This one didn't submit, and this one didn't get a high enough grade to pass, I believe. So, and then I can choose to either post or not post. I can also manually update any grade I want to do by just clicking on it, and maybe this person changed and got 20 out of 30, and I could just then hit enter, and there it is. And then it tells me if it's going to update it. It updates it here rather, and then it asks me if I want to change anything else. I'm going to put a comment in, just testing. Please ignore. And then, of course, I can also access things from this toolbar. I can access Angela's personal information. Right? This is all of the stuff that Angela's really not doing well in my class here. She's not doing a lot of work. And then I can go back to that drawer, right? And I can go to the assignment itself. I can also get to the speed grader if I want to do that. And the speed grader, of course, as we know, is one of the best tools about Canvas. So that is a really quick overview of some of the features and functionality of the gradebook and how to set it up properly. Obviously, it's a high-level overview. There's a lot more detail that we can go into. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and I look forward to working with all of you in Canvas, our new home. Thanks so much.